Oh, hello दोस्तों. We are back to our session to polity, understand polity. As we have taken that we are understanding the important features of the Indian Constitution or the salient features of the Indian Constitution. So I can give you a metaphor here. Like, have you seen any matches of badminton? Badminton देखा है कभी? जिसमें शटल रहता है और दो नेट के अपोजिट साइड्स पे दो प्लेयर रहते हैं या चार प्लेयर रहते हैं. सो व्हाट इज इम्पोर्टेंट इन दैट गेम, it's not about how hard you smash, or it's not about how long you play. It's all about the tactics. You must be understanding where are the voids, gap कहाँ पे, जहाँ पे gap है just put the shuttle there with whatever force required and get the point and win the match, win the set and win the match. So why am I giving the example? As I'm saying, you have to understand that these exams, UPSC, state civil services examinations or railways or other examinations, these don't ask you to do, to learn everything, to रट्टा मार के आ जाओ सब. नो, बिल्कुल भी नहीं. They are just asking you to understand the vitals, importance, and place it rightly with proper and elegant language. बस यही करना है. Now पूरे एग्जाम प्रिपरेशन में इतना ध्यान रखिए कि पूरे वक्त आपको इतना ध्यान में रखना है कि आपको सब नहीं पढ़ना है. आपको बस उसके वाइटल्स ध्यान में रखने हैं और उसको एक एलिगेंट लैंग्वेज में उसको आपको उतारना है. सो नाउ इन द प्रीवियस वीडियो वी लर्नड 5 salient features of the Indian Constitution. That is, it's the lengthiest constitution of the world. Now what must be the vitals of this lengthiest constitution, this point, lengthiest constitution of the world? So you can give your first point, that is, constitutions can be divided into written and unwritten ones. Give the example for written constitutions. For example, United States of America's constitution. Give the example of unwritten constitution, that of the English people, means the British people, the England, the country of England. So here comes your first point. Second point, India has the world's lengthiest written constitution because of the following factors. Because of the geological factors, or say geographical factors, because of its historical factors, and because India has only a single constitution. Each state does not have its different constitutions. Hence, it is utterly important to give a proper detailed provisions so that they won't be misinterpreted. Get it? So our first point for the lengthiest constitution has covered. The first point for the lengthiest constitution, for the salient features of the Indian Constitution, has covered. Then we went to drawn from various sources of the constitution. Like, our constitution is made up of a lot of provisions were taken from, say, the Russian constitution, the Canadian constitution. So how can we cover this particular point? First of all, quote Dr. Ambedkar, the line which I have given you in the slide. Dr. Ambedkar proudly said that this particular adverb is important here. Okay, so Dr. Ambedkar proudly said that the Indian Constitution has been made after ransacking through all the constitutions of the world, or through major constitutions of the world. So that becomes your first point. Second point, you can write like the philosophical principles, that is of the directive principle of state policies, have been taken from the Irish constitution, and the fundamental rights, the provisions of fundamental rights, have been taken from the American constitution. Then second point, a major point, the political provisions in the constitution are highly influenced by the British constitution. Okay. Then third, you can give like We have taken provisions from the South African constitution, the Canadian one, the Russian one, then etc etc etc. You need not to read and ratta sab learn होना चाहिए, ऐसा कुछ नहीं. Just have the vitals with you. Then about rigidity and flexibility. We came with rigidity and flexibility. Whenever you hear the word rigidity or flexibility in concern to the Constitution of India, there must be one article must come your in mind. There must be one article that must come to your mind. एक आर्टिकल है जो आपके दिमाग में आना चाहिए, एंड दैट इज आर्टिकल 368, विच गिव्स द गवर्नमेंट द पावर, not government, which gives the parliament. Okay, so while speaking I made an error, so I am acknowledging that also. So while writing, if you write like it gives the government, scratch it, write down it gives the parliament. Okay, it gives the parliament the power to amend the Constitution of India, and it is rigid at some parts, it is flexible at some parts. Flexibility in what sense? Like for a few laws to be amended, there is what we require is simple majority, while there are few provisions which must be amended by a special majority of people means parliamentarians present and voting, and for few special majority plus more than half of the consent of the 50% states. 50% से ऊपर स्टेट्स की हामी उसमें होनी चाहिए, ऊपर, not 50% only, more than 50%. For example, I am giving you a very straightforward example. If India has 30 states, now in this sense states means it will include those union territories as well which has their own legislature. Okay, so for example, if India has 30 such things, 30 such entities, more than 15 means more than 16 भी पकड़ लीजिए, उनका ratification is really very important. Then it's a federal system with a unitary bias. Quote the first line only. The Indian Constitution may be maybe से बेहतर है, the Indian Constitution is federal in nature but unitary by its spirit. Then the other line, other point you can add is like the Indian Constitution is federal because it has many provisions like dual government, state of dual government, and etc etc etc. Now I can give you a lot of pointers here, but why am I not giving? The major thing is that, as I have said, you must have the vitals in your mind. Okay, it's not just about jitna bhi aaye bhar do. You have to remember you have been given a proper page limit. You cannot ask for supplements in the examinations. मेंस के एग्जामिनेशन में you cannot ask for supplements. So हमें बहुत गिन चुन के लिखना है. Then India has unitary features like that of single constitution, single citizenship, etc etc and etc. Okay. Then you can add one more point, that Article 1 states that India is a union of states, hence proved that there is an unitary bias in the Indian Constitution against federalism. Then parliamentary form of government. So first of all, understand that the British Parliament is sovereign in nature, means it can amend any law. They have a lot of flexibility in the constitution making and amending, but Indian Parliament is not sovereign in nature. Okay, but there is an elected head of the state. State means the country. There is an elected head of the state in India, but there is monarchical head in the country of England or in the United Kingdom of England. So you have to understand this thing. Now, what is difference between England, United Kingdom and British Empire or British we will take it in some other class. Okay, now we will be moving towards other few features. The other point, we will be taking up the synthesis of parliamentary sovereignty and judicial supremacy. So once again I am stating this point: the British Parliament is sovereign in nature, while that of the Indian Parliament is not. And there is judicial supremacy as per the American Constitution for the state of America. India does not have a sovereign parliamentary system, but the Supreme Court, the apex court of the Indian system, Indian judiciary system, has a judicial review, but it is narrower in nature as compared to that of the American Constitution. This is because the American Constitution provides for due process of law against that of procedure established by law contained in the Indian Constitution as per Article 21 of the Constitution. Now, what does this mean? What does this signify? This signifies that the Supreme Court has the whole power to rule out any law passed by the Indian Parliament as void if they find it as violating some basic structure of the Constitution. Now, what's the basic structure of the Constitution? Maybe while we'll be reading the preamble to the Constitution of India, I will explain you the Keshavananda Bharti case and the what we mean by basic structure of the Constitution. On the other hand, the Parliament can make and amend laws. On the other hand, the Parliament can make and amend the laws and can change or amend a major portion of the Constitution. So this is what it implies. Then there is this point of integrated and independent judiciary. So in this single and integrated judiciary, what does it mean? So you have to understand that the American Constitution provides for a federal constitution, and there are different constitutions for the states. The federal court of America, which can be said as the apex federal court. So the federal court of America watches for only those laws which are federal in nature. The state laws are dealt with the Supreme Court of the states only. But in India, we have only one Supreme Court, and that is the apex body, the apex judiciary body. Under that comes the high courts, then the subordinate courts. So what does it mean? It means a single and integrated judiciary. They are integrated, intertwined to each other. In what sense? We will be looking at specifically in different chapter, but for the time being, you have to understand it is single and integrated judiciary. The Supreme Court being the apex of the judiciary system holds as the sole guarantor of the fundamental rights of the Indian citizens and residents of India as well. Now, why did I use the word residents of India? Because few fundamental rights are only for the citizens of India, while the remaining ones are for the residents of India. Means it's not mandatory to be an Indian citizen. If you are living in the country, you get that fundamental right by nature only. So this is what Supreme Court is, the guarantor of the fundamental rights, and giving and as it has such a big zimmedari, responsibility on itself. It is taken to be as independent, and its independency has been covered by giving proper and highest perks to the judiciary system, so that they must not be involved into the Maya Jal of corruption. Then they have a security of tenure. Then if the judges of the Supreme Court or the High Courts are to be removed, there is a very lengthy and a very rigorous process, so that easily any judge can't be taken out. So these were all the points. Then there is another important point. Those are the fundamental rights. Now, the Indian Constitution provides to the Indian Constitution and also to the residents of the India few fundamental rights. If anyone asks you how many fundamental rights are guaranteed by the Indian Constitution, you have to use the digit 6 to answer. There is fundamental right to equality, fundamental right to freedom, fundamental right against exploitation, fundamental right to freedom to religion, fundamental right of cultural and educational rights, and constitutional remedies, right to constitutional remedies. If any of the fundamental right of the citizen feels violated, the party can directly go to the Supreme Court or the High Court of India. It does not need to go to the subordinate courts. They can directly approach the High Court or the Supreme Court of India. If your fundamental right, if that party's fundamental right is breached. Now, you have to understand the fundamental rights are not absolute in nature. Okay, they are not absolute in nature. In what sense? They can be curtailed on few grounds, and also while they are also not sacrosanct in nature, because they can be amended, and under the if national emergency is there in the country, they may be curtailed, but Article 20 and 21 remain still under any condition, and these are enforceable in court. As I said, you can directly go to the Supreme Court or the High Courts of the states if they are breached. Now, fundamental rights are in the Part 3 of the Constitution. Part 4 of the Indian Constitution is dedicated to DPSPs, Directive Principles of State Policies, which we have adopted from the Irish Constitution. Now, what are DPSPs? Fundamental rights. Okay, I am using the word fundamental rights. Hear that. Fundamental rights provides political democracy, and DPSPs, Directive Principle of State Policies, provide for socio equalities. Okay. Now, Dr. Ambedkar, in his speech, he said that it is the novel feature. DPSPs are the novel features of the Indian Constitution. These are the principles for governance, but unlike the fundamental rights, they are not enforceable in nature, and this can be amended as well. States can take their motivation for governing the state or the country from DPSPs, but those are not enforceable in nature. So you have to keep that in mind. So guys, we took few important points here. Now you have to understand what we have learned and remember the vitals. These vitals are really very important. Take care.